Welcome to the Fallen State. I'm Jesse Lee Peterson. Thank you all so much for being with me. Remember, you can support the Fallen State now by becoming a member right there on YouTube channel there. Or you can go over to locals.com, and thank you in advance for your support. And I have my own coffee. Did you know I have my own coffee?
No.
Amazing. I have my own coffee, Punchy's Coffee, and it is delicious. So go to jesseleepeterson.shop and purchase your coffee today. I have with me Kira Davis. She's a writer, cultural critic, political pundit, and the host of Just Listen to Yourself podcast. And I had Kira, she was a guest on my radio show when I was doing radio before the internet years ago. And when I heard she was coming back, I'm like, what? Welcome back.
Thank you.
You look the same, though. You haven't gotten older.
You're my favorite.
Amazing. Welcome back, though.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to see you. It's been a long time. You were just asking me about my kids.
Yeah.
The last time I saw you, my children were, we were doing end of year projects for 5th grade, and now I'm graduating them both from high school and college.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
At that time, you were into promoting homeschooling and stuff like that.
Yes.
Right? Are you still doing that?
No, we're in public school. I homeschool both my children at different times throughout the years, and then we did end up going back to public school. So my daughter will be graduating public school. My son's at DePaul in Chicago. That's a Catholic school.
Amazing.
So yeah, we're really proud. And I can say this now that I'm 1 week from graduation, but I really can't wait to be done with public school.
I bet.
Never going back.
I bet.
Ever. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
What have you been doing? I know what you've been doing because I've been reading, but what have you been doing since I last saw you?
Well, I've been raising a family, really. That's what I've been doing.
Yeah.
I do podcasting. I'm a professional fill-in radio host. That's a job I actually have. I am contracted over at Sirius right now, so sometimes you can hear me filling in for Stacey Washington a lot, even David Webb sometimes. But all of that is part-time. I do my podcast. I write. I was the deputy managing editor over at Red State for a while. But really all of it was in support of motherhood. But now I'm graduating 2 kids, so I'm kind of getting back, and I'm about to be an empty nester.
It's amazing how fast kids grow up. I saw my little great-grandson. I have a great-grandson.
Wow.
He was like 6 years old, so he was like really little. Next time I saw him, he was up here. I'm like,
my mom always said you won't know you're getting older until you have kids.
Right, that's for sure.
And you realize.
So you are a conservative?
Yes.
Are you a Christian?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
And what is it like being a Christian?
What is it like being a Christian?
Yeah.
Well, you tell me. It's up and down. I guess it's great I'd rather be a Christian in America than anywhere else. But I was not born into a Christian family. My parents were godless hippies. My mother still is. My father passed away recently, unfortunately. But I was not I was raised by atheists, and so I had a conversion experience as a teen. My best friend had gotten saved. She went to a youth group, and she had gotten saved. And
You went where? Oh, youth meeting.
Yeah, youth group. Yeah, she joined a local youth group.
Right.
And I used to spend Friday nights at Christine's house, but youth group was on Friday nights. So if I wanted to spend the night at her house, I would have to go to youth group with her, and that's where I met Jesus. And I was 15 at the time, almost 16. And we've been together ever since.
Amazing.
Yeah.
What's the difference between a Christian and a conservative?
I think they're 2 different labels. Are they? Of course, they're different things. One's a political label, and one is a family name. You know.
So you don't have to be a Christian to be a conservative.
You don't have to be a Christian to be a conservative. No.
Oh,
you just have to be a Christian to get to heaven. Yeah. I think you're better off. I think you'll understand the principles of conservatism more if you're a Christian. You'll be able to better defend the principles of conservatism.
I agree.
Yeah.
So do Christians and conservatives get along?
It depends if the conservatives are Christians.
Yeah.
I think we are seeing what happens to politics and to faith when you have to build a coalition.
Yeah.
That's what we're seeing right now.
That's one of the reasons I asked, because
I'm glad you asked it.
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought it up, because I don't think enough people are understanding what's happening here. Because in the Republican Party, I'm a Republican, but in the Republican Party, it's always been this battle between the base. That's how we met. We met in the Tea Party days, right?
Yes.
Where we were battling the establishment. That's never changed.
Right.
We've always been battling the establishment. We're used to that battle. But what happened is, to win this war that we won last November, our leaders had to go outside of our circles and bring in a coalition. Great. It was great. It worked. Fabulous. The downside of a coalition is you're working with a lot of people who don't share your values.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of conservatives, and particularly Christian conservatives, need to understand that that's who we've welcomed onto this side. That's who we've welcomed into this party. So we have to understand that this is not our party. This is a political party. Our party is Jesus, right? Our party is the kingdom. And so we operate within this party to establish kingdom values. But we also have to recognize that other people have come in, so we need to know where we can compromise, and then know where we need to stand firm on the boundaries.
I noticed that with Donald Trump doing an amazing job, and what he's doing is the right thing, but yet there's some Republican representatives that don't agree with that, and they're supposed to be conservative. And I wonder if they had been Christian, and I think they may say they're Christian, I don't know, would it be easy for him to get done what he needs to do?
Well, was it John Adams that says, he said our Constitution is made for a moral people.
Right.
And I think that's never been more obvious than the last 4 years, because you can have a Constitution. We have a Constitution, right? It says all kinds of things that protect us, and yet we had a government that ignored it. And no one, even here in the state of California, for instance, we know we have voting problems, right?
Yeah.
They're provable.
Yeah.
Many people have proven them. If you don't have the leaders to prosecute that, if you don't have, the moral fortitude, then it's nothing. It's worthless. The Constitution is just a piece of paper until it's defended by somebody.
What's your impression of Karen Bass, the black mayor of Los Angeles? Are you aware of her?
Yes.
I
was just tweeting about her this morning.
Really?
Oh, yes, because she had the nerve to, her and Governor Newsom had the nerve to brag about the one house being built in Pacific Palisades right now. They took a picture of it. They put it online like, look at this progress. Yeah. It's 4 months since that entire place burned down. So, yes, I'm very aware of Karen Bass. I used to think that she was sort of a useful idiot.
Yeah.
But I think maybe it's a little darker than that at this point. I think she's
totally
evil.
agree.
Yeah.
What a mess. So are we going to be able to vote them out?
Yes.
Newsom and her out?
Yes.
Oh, good.
Yes. I believe we're going to do it. I don't think there's been a better time.
Yeah.
I've been working with some of the candidates that are announcing for state office, and being in media, we're always talking to people. And I ran, you may not know this, I actually ran for school board 2 years ago. I ran for my school board.
Nice.
I did. I lost. But
still, you ran.
But I think at that time, it was just starting to bubble up, the idea of, oh no, we have to be active to protect this. And I'm starting to see more and more people get on board. I think there's a chance for California. I know people don't believe me.
I believe so too. I think enough has happened with the fires and crime and the whole. I think maybe even the Democratic voters are fed up now.
Yes.
So I think that's going to make the change.
I agree. I agree totally. And I think if we want to even draw comparisons to what's going on the national scene, you look at what Trump was able to do. How did Trump win? He brought in a coalition. And I think that's what's going to happen here in California. It will be a coalition of voters. It won't be, although, by the way, a lot of people don't know this, we have enough Republican voters to win any election we want in the state. I believe it. We just have to activate all of them. So I don't think we're going to need to just depend on Republican voters. We're certainly not going to just need to depend on Democrat voters. I think what we're going to see is a coalition that reflects what we saw
Amazing.
federally.
So what's important to you?
Education is number one for me as a mom, education and voting. And when I go around talking to people, it's the two things on everyone's mind. When I ran for school board, it was heat of COVID. So I was really running for get the schools open, get our kids in class, and then I ran against DEI and CRT. At the time, unbelievably, that was the big issue. The trans stuff has taken it over, but I was running a little bit on that too, but really it was the DEI and CRT stuff at the time that was, as a black mother raising black children, that was really concerning to me, and I saw all the other Marxist tentacles. I think I scared people with it.
What a mess.
I think I scared people like they couldn't believe it. Really? Yeah, really. This stuff is really going on.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So you mentioned as a black person, you grew up in Canada, right?
I did.
But you look black, but you don't look black. Why don't you look all the way black?
Well, I want you to tell me what all the way black looks like. I want you to describe that first.
Like your daddy and your mama was black.
All right. Yes, my mom is white and my father is black. Yes, my father's Black American. So he was born in Pittsburgh, and then when I was growing up, he lived in Washington, D.C., so I have a lot of roots in Washington, D.C. But I was raised with my mother in Canada, and then I would kind of travel back and forth.
And so you were telling me before this, we started that did you live in Gary?
Yes.
You in Gary, Indiana, folks. Isn't that amazing? Your husband was born there, right? And you met him there.
My husband and I met at college.
Okay.
150 years ago,
Yeah.
a different lifetime ago, and then we both reconnected as young adults, and so when we decided to marry, I moved to his home.
Right on.
He had a home in Gary.
Oh, I see.
And so
You
that's
moved
how
to
I ended up
Gary.
there. I moved to be with my
And what was
husband.
Gary like when you moved there, and what was it like when you left?
Gary is 25 miles from the south side of Chicago.
Right.
People from the south side of Chicago call Gary Scary Gary.
Yeah.
So you can get an idea of what Gary is like.
Yeah.
It's the hood. I wasn't unfamiliar with the hood. I have a lot of DC's, when I was growing up, basically the entire, we lived on Capitol Hill, and that Capitol Hill was the hood. It was not $5 million homes
That's
like
right.
it is now. And even now you go back, you can still see pockets, that haven't been touched. I was familiar with it, but I had never been a part of the community. I could always come and go. I was in school, or I would go back to my mom's house, or I never really had to dig in and be a part of the community. And that was the first time where I was living, breathing, going to church, raising a family there. I started serving the community. That's where I became a conservative, in Gary.
In Gary. I bet.
In Gary. Wow. Because I got to see how I was like every other black person, I was a default Democrat, but very politically minded, and I would see lots of things around me. I got into education. I started tutoring. I started an after-school program. And I would see how all the policies I had supported all my life, how they actually worked up close. And I discovered that they didn't. And just over the years, my father-in-law is a pastor, Pastor Vic Davis, and he was the first black man I ever met who called himself openly a Republican and a conservative. And he used to really challenge me.
He's still in Gary?
He lives in Arizona now. He's a snowbird.
Nice.
Yeah.
And so where did you live in Gary?
We lived on the west side. We lived on Hanley Street, just off of Fifth Avenue on the west side, and then we moved to Midtown, so right next to the hospital.
I lived in Gary for about a year.
Really?
When I was in I would go there and visit every year, but I lived there from the 11th. I went to the 11th grade at Edison High School.
At Edison.
Yeah, on
Edison's
Fifth
close.
Avenue. And we lived on 6th Avenue, right across the street from Gary. So.
Oh, gosh, yes.
And
wow.
when I first moved to Gary back in 66, I think, 67, it was beautiful.
Yep.
It was controlled by white people. It was businesses everywhere. Little or no crime.
My husband's family was the first black family on their block.
Really?
Yeah.
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 I remember it used to be so nice.
Yep.
And then in 1967, I may be wrong, but 1967, they elected the first black mayor, Richard Hatchett, I believe his name was.
Jesse Lee, you want to know something?
What?
We re-elected him 10 years ago.
Really?
Yeah. Or not 10 years ago, we re-elected him. And then, well, don't get me started on Richard Hatcher. My husband and I actually had some personal interactions with the first black mayor of Gary. And
Amazing.
not all black people are for you.
That's right.
Not all black people are for black people. And that's what happened to Gary.
Right.
Yeah.
The day after it was elected on a Tuesday, I believe, and that next morning, all hell broke loose.
Yeah.
The black kids were fighting on the bus. They were
Yeah.
fighting with the whites and the Mexicans. They were fighting in the classroom. They were fighting. Everything changed the very next day, and it just got worse from that point forward. I got out of Gary, Indiana. I went back to Alabama and finished high school down there because I had never dealt with that type of violence from blacks or anyone, really.
Yeah.
And so I went back to the cotton field and finished high school down in Alabama. But it just went to hell from that.
And it's never been better. My husband and I were, when we first started our lives together, you know, we were upwardly mobile. We were making our way into the middle class and proud of it. And so we did what everyone says you're supposed to do. You reach back, you lift other people up, you invest in the community. We felt very strongly about investing in the community, and we did. We made financial investments. We made in program. We erected 501c3s.
Amazing.
It was worse when we left.
Yeah.
And we went back 2 years ago. We took the kids back, and it was worse.
Yeah.
And the whole time we were driving around, and my husband and I were just going, "How can it be worse?
I know.
How can it be worse? It's worse."
Yeah. It's amazing, that's for sure.
And it's not, there's no reason for it to be worse. It's leadership. It's leadership. There's it's on the lake. It's on a beautiful lake.
Yeah.
It's
It should be
prime real
beautiful.
estate.
It's the
crossroads of America. All the motor traffic comes through there.
Yeah.
All the trains come. There's no reason for it except that the people that we've elected in Gary steal from their own people.
I heard about all that. My family, I still have family members there. They tell me that all the time.
They're thieves. Yeah. I got a first-hand education.
What's wrong with the blacks?
This is why I wanted to come on this show, because I wanted to hear you ask that question. I knew you were going to ask that question.
What's wrong with the blacks?
For a long time, I have been of the mind that that it's our job to serve and to lift. And so I've always thought, well, what's wrong with black people? Well, it's sin, right? It's sin. Just the same thing that's wrong with everybody
Right,
else.
it definitely ain't.
But I don't know. I feel a little more conspiratorial about it as I get older. I think the last 4 years, my tinfoil hat has gotten pretty pointy. And, you know, what's wrong with black people? A lot. I think all of it's on purpose.
It is.
Some of it's been...
It's set up to be that way.
It's worse than that it's set up to be that way. It's some of our own.
Yeah.
It's a lot of our own that are
Most
selling
of our
us
own
out.
that are doing that.
They're selling us
Absolutely.
out. I did a podcast last week. My podcast was on the stabbing of I'm sorry, let me turn this
The
off.
track guy.
Yes, the track and field, Carmelo Anthony,
Yes.
not the basketball player.
Right.
And I said, look, I find it disturbing that immediately after that stabbing, the first reaction of the black leaders was to come out and defend him, to come out and we're gonna rally around the family. We're gonna put up a fundraiser. By the way, I think they have every right. If they want to have a fundraiser, fine. You have it. I don't have to contribute to it. Fine.
Right.
But not a single black man, not a single black leader came out and said, young black men, this is not how we handle our problems.
Right.
This is not, we want to start with this. Yes, we're going to come alongside the family. We're going to walk with them and we're going to guide them through this very difficult time because clearly something's gone wrong in this family.
Absolutely.
That's what a good community would do, but we don't hold each other accountable.
Never.
We don't normalize. What I said was we need to normalize that.
Right.
What if the normal message we always come out with is racism? Well, this is probably someone else's fault, and it's definitely not our fault. It's definitely not your fault. we'll move forward from there. From everything will be based on that. But what if we normalized every time something like this happened?
It would be amazing.
What if LeBron James and Barack Obama, like the first thing they said was, young men, this is not
That's right.
who we
That's
are.
Right. When I was growing up, before the civil rights movement, which was a big mistake, by the way, for the blacks, black people would never tolerate that. They wouldn't say, oh, let's support this. This is the right thing. They would say, let this be an example for you. You take a knife to a track meet, this is what's going to happen.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And don't be like that. They wouldn't even allow us to play with bad black kids.
Right. Right.
And if they knew the parents were no good, they would automatically know the kids were no good. So they would say, don't hang out with those kids because the parents are bad.
Right. Well, we don't even have
used
that
to
anymore.
be that way.
We
Right.
don't even have that anymore, where
Yeah.
you can count on, even in my nice cushy, I mean, I don't live in the hood anymore. I live in the nice cushy suburbs, but in a lot of ways, that's even worse. At least
Yeah.
in the hood, I could pop your child and nobody would look twice,
one
you
would
know?
care, yeah.
But in the suburbs, it's like, no, you can't speak harshly to anyone else's child. We used to be able to correct each other. We used to be able to correct each other's children.
Absolutely.
And you can't do
You
that
can't do
anymore.
that. You get
know,
killed.
my daughter had a little white friend many years ago, and they were little. They were about 5, and they're actually from Europe, and they had moved, and they came down to our house to play one day. Well, the mom called. The daughter had not asked her mom, could she come play? The mom didn't know where she was, and she was upset. So I said, I'll send her back. And I said to this little girl, so why would you come down here without asking your mama? I was like, you can't come down here and not ask your mama. She started crying. She thought I was yelling at her. She thought I was treating her harshly. She went home and told her mother that I yelled at her. But I just realized, well, there's this cultural difference here. Yeah, I can't even speak harshly to you. No, it's not okay for you to disappear on your mother.
Yeah.
You know?
The blacks are getting worse. This generation is worse than the last generation and the last generation.
Do you think so?
Yeah. They are killing each other. They're
But do you think it's in the same numbers? Because I think you're right. I think where it's worse, like in the bad parts, it's worse.
Yeah.
But we also have more upwardly mobile black Americans these days than ever before.
What's that?
The black middle class
Oh.
is expanding. So where that used to be pretty limited, it's growing. We're not at parity with our peers, like our Asian or our white peers, but there's more of them. There's more of, I should say us. I would be one of them, middle class, but there's more.
They won't accept you. They're not going to accept you. You got too much white in you.
Oh, no.
What was it like?
No.
What
You're
was it-
wrong. You're wrong. See, I'm as black as the first black president, so
I thought
none
you
of that
talking to
matters
him,
anymore.
But let me ask, growing up as a white girl, black girl, was that difficult for you?
Yeah, I think times were way different then, right? These days, it feels like not that strange to see a biracial kid running around.
You're right, it's different now.
Right, but when my parents were married, it was the 70s.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, there was one time where my parents were separated at the border because my mother was this blonde, white Canadian woman, and my father, and he was also a musician too. He had dreadlocks, bare feet, just the stereotypical dirty hippie. And they separated them, and when they had to separate, they had to leave each other at the border. And growing up
This
in
is
rural
from Canada to America, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And growing up in rural Canada, it was very difficult. There's a lot of racial abuse. There's a high black population in Canada because that's where the Underground Railroad came out.
Yeah.
So we're very aware of that history. But I lived in a farming community. It was pretty brutal. And then when I would go to Washington, D.C. and be with my peers there, then I was not black enough, that would be, well, you sound strange, you don't look the same. So yeah, I guess it was difficult, but I think in the end it was, I have a very solid sense of identity these days.
Was forced integration good or bad?
forced integration, like
Yeah.
in the 60s, like in
Yeah.
the civil rights.
When they start making the
Bad.
white people and the black people
Bad.
live together.
Bad. I'll give you an example.
Okay.
Great. This is a perfect transition because we were just talking about my childhood experience.
Right.
All right. So when I was 13, I went to middle school in Washington, D.C., Stewart Hobson Middle School on Capitol Hill. It's right behind the Heritage Foundation, right? It's still there to this day. We lived right across the street. Well, Stewart Hobson Middle School was part of a group of schools on Capitol Hill called the Capitol Hill Cluster. And there was an experimental cluster of public schools because Washington, D.C. at that time, and still is known as the Chocolate City, is mostly black, mostly poor population. Somebody got the big idea that, well, if we just shipped in white rich kids, then we could integrate the schools. The schools would get better if we bust in
They
white
did it
kids
in Alabama too.
from the suburbs. So they asked for a lot of volunteers. Some white parents stepped up. We began, the year I started school there was the year we began the busing program, and it was an absolute failure. The white kids in our schools were brutalized.
Yeah.
I often wonder where those kids ended up. I mean brutalized, where some kids were sent to the hospital because gangs would come into the school and pick them out and beat them up. And I will never forget, 13 years old, this is burned in my brain. For whatever reason, I was at a community forum. The school was right across from my house, so maybe I was bored and I went there. Lucy, I think her last name was Campbell, Lucy Campbell's mom, came in, and Lucy was the student council president, this little white girl that they had bussed in, and her mom was some hippie who was really proud to be a part of this busing program, and she came in and she said, I feel like a hypocrite and a bigot, but how can I send my child to this school anymore? And she's being brutalized every day. I signed on for this program thinking I was doing something good, doing the right thing. And it's been nothing but heartache and abuse. I'll never forget that. So no, forced integration is a mistake because it's always a mistake, I believe, to work against the tribal instincts of people. Now, this is the glory of Christ, right? Yeah. This is the beauty of Christ, is that our tribe is eclectic and diverse because we gather under the flag of a king, not a race. Yeah. So that's what's amazing about Christianity, is that we so many different cultures can fall under one flag. But when you're talking about earthly tribalism, no, people can integrate. They do it well when they're able to do it in their own time and in their own way. We do it. Yeah. We do it just fine.
I believe had we never had forced integration, America would be greater than what it is now.
I totally agree. As a matter of fact, a great example of that is Las Vegas in the 1960s during the Civil Rights Movement. A lot of people think we legislated our way out of the Civil Rights Movement. We absolutely did not. One of the biggest things that happened was commerce, the economy. So in Vegas, the performers like Ella Fitzgerald and Sammy Davis Jr. couldn't perform on certain stages or couldn't walk in the front door with the Rat Pack like Frank Sinatra. Right. Eventually, guys like Sinatra said, I'm not playing here anymore if you guys don't clean this up. Like, yeah, I want Sammy Davis Jr. to use the pool. You know, I want him to walk in the front door with me because he's a performer. And that's when Vegas got on board. That's when things started to shift. When we paid an economic price for bigotry.
Yeah.
Right?
You mentioned your white friend. When I went to Edison High School in Gary, I had my first white friend. I had never had a white friend before, even though I was fine with white people. But I had a white friend, and they lived right across from Edison High School, right across the street. And because at one time, Edison was black. I mean white, mostly white. And then it turned black. But what happened was I had this white friend, really good guy, and they turned the school when the mayor, this first black mayor became the mayor. And that very next day, the blacks started attacking the white kids in the hallways and the classrooms and things like that. And it got so bad that his family just jumped up and moved. They just left. And I haven't seen him yet. He didn't even get a chance to say goodbye. They just took off, and I don't know what happened to him. But I know that too many white people were getting beat up, white kids, by the blacks. Can you tell me one good thing that has helped America that the black leadership has done, the black politicians, the governors, or anyone as a group, what have they done to make America better, to add to it, to make it better? Can you name me one thing?
Well, like we built a lot.
What?
We built a lot of stuff.
I'm talking about in the
mean-
last 70 years.
Oh,
or
in the
so.
last 70 years?
Not,
That's
yeah,
a good
since
question.
the 70 right,
Yeah.
since the civil rights movement.
Like a leader. What leader?
What has the blacks have done to make America better?
Generally speaking.
Yeah. Can you name me one thing?
I think this is very subjective. I can't. My podcast is a critical thinking podcast. I'm always thinking through the arguments when you ask me a question.
Right.
But I'm thinking about what the people would say to me. People would say, well, yeah, they've done plenty of good things. There's more black women in college than ever. There's higher rates of higher education. Maybe we would say, well, we have more black people represented in Congress, more black people represented in whatever, pick your thing. So I feel like the arguments would be that. I guess to that imaginary argument, I might say, well, what was the original premise of the question, which is is it better that schools are full of black educated women? As a black educated woman, I don't think so. I don't think the results have been that stellar, So
you can't think of one
I'm
thing
trying.
that
I'm really like I'm thinking about what I'm only thinking about what the arguments would be. I'm trying to think of what would I say if I was going to point to somebody and say, "Look what we changed." Music.
Music.
Maybe that's ditties. But don't even get me started on that. Don't get me started on, with
Right.
my tinfoil hat stuff and what music's been doing to us.
So you're not able to think of one good thing that
As a whole, as a community. Because I can think of great black people, obviously.
that the
As a
black
whole.
leadership, the politicians, the whatever they are, you can't think of one thing that they've done good that for all America that would help all America. I haven't met anyone yet who can think of anything good that blacks have done to make America better.
What about whites? What have whites done? Like, what would you say? What would be the answer to that question?
But just to get it clear, you can't think of one thing that blacks
No,
have done.
I didn't. Yes.
Did you know that they had not done anything to make America better, have not added to the country?
I've been pretty.
Isn't that amazing?
No, it's not something that I've sat down and thought about, but this is obviously something that I fight about every day in one way or another, which is I basically said as much when I said, why are we normal? What are we normalizing? Why don't we have any men that come out and immediately say X,
Right.
Y, Z? Well, even I could say, one thing I say is, when have you ever seen Barack Obama ever come out and hold a lecture and give me the step-by-step, 1 through 10, here's how you get to where I am. Young black men, here's
They never do that.
Right. Well, we know that he couldn't do that anyway because he was a total Manchurian candidate. But my point is that these people at the top who tell us we only need this one more piece as a community and then we'll be good, that we'll have whatever it is, we need reparations or we need CRT, whatever the thing is, there's always somebody at the top, like an Oprah. LeBron James has been on my mind a lot lately, and I don't know why, but
What a mess.
something's going on with him. But none of these people ever say, you know what? Here is my 10-step program to how I got from where you are, little black kids, to where I am today. I did it. You can do it. Step one, no, they never tell you. Do you know why? Because they got there by selling out the way you'll have to get there by selling out, because the only way to get to the top is to sell out to somebody.
What a mess.
Yeah. So they're all sellouts. They can't tell you the truth, which is they sold out, but the worst part is they sold us out.
Maybe.
They didn't sell themselves out. They sold us out, and they're still selling us out every
All for the
day.
money.
All for the money.
You mentioned black women in college, right? There are more black women in college. Is that a good thing?
It's not, no.
And why not?
Well, I think that we see it reflected in the voting demographics, right? So we see this among white women too, white college educated women who aren't married. I'm not sure that it's the education aspect of it that is the root of it, if we really think about it. I think the root of it is unmarried women. Unmarried women will tend to oftentimes go into higher education, where then you have more ideas of how to be more independent, right? The entire education system is set up to make you a worker for life. And so then you become a woman who's not of the mind to marry. You've gone into it with this. When we're not raised with the mind to marry in Black America. You've gone into it with the mind, you're not getting married, you're leaping to the next level. I just feel like it's a lot of things that compound, but I really think the base is that we don't have the notion of family, and a lot of women are going into college thinking, I'm going to make a career my husband, instead of thinking of I'm going.
And they regret it later as they get older.
Most people do.
What were women created to lead or to follow?
Women were created to be a helpmeet.
Were they created to lead or to follow?
They weren't created to lead.
And were they created to lead or to follow?
I don't know if they were created to follow. Why was a woman created?
Were they created to lead or to follow?
Neither.
What do you mean?
What do you mean?
What do you mean by neither?
I don't know. I don't understand this question. Are women created to lead or to follow? Are women supposed to lead the church? Is that, you know what? You can ask me a direct question. I will answer all your questions.
Okay.
I
can ask you a direct question?
Yes. Do I think
were
women should lead the
women created to lead or to follow?
They were not created to lead, and they were not created to follow. They were created to be helpers.
And why do you say they were not created to lead first?
Well, Adam was created first, but also the Bible is very explicit. I don't understand why we have these arguments. For instance, even I love John MacArthur. You know, somebody asked him, should women lead the church? He said no. Somebody asked him why. He said, because the Bible said so.
So then why are they putting so many women in leadership? And I love Donald Trump. I call him the Great White Hope. But the one thing I do disagree with him is that he's putting women,
a lot of women,
in leadership roles, and that's not going to turn out well.
Yeah.
Especially once he's out of there. Let's say he leaves. Right now they're under him, right? So he's really leading, but they're over so many other men. Why are they putting women in leadership roles knowing that it's not going to work for the good?
Well, I think you have dug into a very interesting question here, and let's dig underneath, because there's two parts to this. One, you're saying, well, they've got a good leader, right? Donald Trump. So right now it seems it's fine.
Right.
You're under solid leadership. It really doesn't matter who the people are as long as they're qualified.
Yeah,
what happens when, what happens when this particular leader goes? Right. That's why you have to have a society that creates. We have to have a society that creates these leaders to be in positions. So is Donald Trump appointing too many women? That's probably a matter of personal opinion.
No, he is.
But, let me finish.
It's a mess.
But the point is that why are there so many women in those positions?
Yep.
And I think we have found ourselves in a position in this nation. But if I could just square this circle, come back around to how we started, talking about the Black community. On the one hand, yes, I think women are far too aggressive and masculine these days. On the other hand, what are we being asked to step up to replace? There is a dearth of manhood in this country. We are missing our men.
For sure.
We're missing our men in our Black community, and so weak women without partners will often raise children who aren't equipped to
Yeah.
lead, men who aren't equipped to lead. So
That's what's
when
happened
men
to
aren't
the
equipped
black
to lead,
man.
women are going to step forward. So to me, it's a larger problem than just this one person thinks, you know, we need more women. Or it's larger than that. It's like, why are there so many women stepping into leadership? Part of it could be our DEI and CRT stuff, but I think a lot of it is women will do what men aren't doing.
But they can never do what men are not doing, and that's why
It doesn't matter.
that's
But
why
my
it never
point is, it
turned out
doesn't
well.
matter if they can or can't. They're there because somebody's not. Like, I think men need to take a lot more responsibility for the positions that women find themselves in, or that women bully their way into even.
Yeah.
Because but I'm being serious, right? Like, it
And
takes a strong man to say, no, this isn't your place.
Absolutely.
Or no, but we don't have enough of those men.
And God forbid, hopefully Donald Trump will be reelected again, but God forbid that he's not reelected again. There's no other man that can take his place to guide these women that he's put into leadership, like in the church or anywhere really. There's no other man that can guide them in the right way. They're going to go out of control with Donald Trump and God.
Well, I think that's
All
a really,
hell going to break loose.
I think that's a really generalized way to look at it.
Meaning what?
Meaning that you're making assumptions about the state of mind of these women and what they believe their place is and what they believe their job is. And it could be that, you know, they actually are just really qualified for the position. That's possible. Do you think that there should be no women in any positions of leadership?
Not of leadership.
So you don't think we should have a female attorney general? We should not have any women on the Supreme Court. We should definitely not have a female president. Nothing
Right.
like that. Nothing like that.
Because it's not in the woman's nature to lead. They're trying to make them be something that is not in them. God didn't make it that way. You agree with that, right?
Oh yes, I believe that men are the heads.
Yeah. And so they're trying to, it's like the drag queens and the men who dresses in drag, right? And the women in pantsuit. They no matter how much they act like a woman or look like a woman, they still a man.
Can you lead as a woman? See, the position also, there's the affairs of God. There are the affairs of men, right? We don't elect a king. We don't elect God. God is God. But we do elect a president, right? We do elect. These are
Right.
matters of the people. These are we turn to God. We believe that God is ultimately in control. But there are the affairs of men. And what kind of society are we in if we say, well, no, women can't lead anywhere? Can women lead the church? No.
Right.
No, that's not. A woman's place is not in the pastoral pulpit. But can a woman lead a session of Congress? Sure, because
Only under a man control, though, if she has a man over her.
Well, we do have a man in control.
Right.
His name is Jesus.
No, I'm talking about a real man.
Careful. Jesus is a real man. I can't believe you just said that. I can't believe, Pastor, that you just said that.
I'm talking about a physical man on earth led by God.
I think the concept is the same. I think if you have a woman who is under the authority of the king, of
What
God.
king?
Our king, God, Jesus.
But God would never put a woman in leadership.
You don't know that.
Yes, I do.
No, well, we have
He would never change
leadership of
one
the church,
room.
but there's all kinds of things that go on a daily basis in society
But
where
God
a woman is
never-
a leader. She's a leader
God-
in the classroom. She's a leader at the police station. She might be a leader. She might be the leader of the shift at Starbucks. Like, there's all kinds of places where
But
you're a
everything
leader.
fall apart when you put them at Starbucks and police and everything.
You think
because
that- you
it's
think
not
that-
in,
you think it's an
even women
automatic
don't
death
like
sentence?
working for other women. What?
If you think it's an automatic death sentence for your business if you put a woman in charge.
As long as she's under me, she'll be fine. But if I remove my overship over her, it'll go crazy.
Oh, yeah, I think you're wrong about
Why?
that. Yeah, because I think you're blanketly judging all women by this
It is
idea
all.
right. I think your assessment of
So
what a
are
leader
you saying
is.
God made some women to lead? And
No, I
some-
didn't say that.
So
You
it's
said
all
that.
then.
No, I didn't say that. I said there's the affairs of man and there's affairs of church. So if a woman's going to lead in church, no, she cannot. Can a woman lead in public life, like in politics? She can. Is it common? Can every woman? No. Should every woman? No. Should most women? No. Or can some women? Yes. And
know-
if God has appointed a woman for a time
He
to
doesn't
speak,
do it though. He's never going to do that.
But he has. There have been all kinds of women who have been
who?
influential voices in our nation
Like
and in the
who?
world. I mean, Margaret Thatcher.
Who?
Margaret Thatcher.
Margaret Thatcher doesn't live here.
Right. No, she doesn't live anywhere now. She's dead. But
dead.
the point is that for a time, was she leading the church? No. Was she leading my family? No. She got elected to do a job, and if a woman understands where her place in the created order is, that is underneath the king, I see no issue with a woman.
When Margaret, what's her name?
Thatcher.
Thatcher became the leader over there. You notice the men under her, her sons and the men under her were weak. Her husband was weak. Her sons were weak. It made everything bad. It didn't make things better.
Okay, fair enough. That is part of being a world leader, I think. Because you can say the same thing about Ronald Reagan. His family did not come out, okay. The Nixon kids did not come out and say we had a great time. The Obama kids.
That's because those men are not leading their wife. They're listening to their wife. Have you noticed that every...
Are there any men in your estimation? Are there any men in your estimation who should take responsibility for being weak or bullied?
All men should take responsibility. That's the only way they're going to overcome it.
Right. This is a man's responsibility.
To overcome.
But you're questioning me like it's my job to make you guys step up.
No, it's the man. But what I'm saying is, putting all these women in leadership role is going to be the downfall of America.
You think
America never going to get better because the foundation is not being built. It's built on sand, these women in leadership role. Would you ever listen to a woman?
I mean, yeah, sure.
You would listen to a woman?
I listen to women all the... You mean like do what I'm told by a woman?
Yeah.
Oh, sure, I guess if she's my boss, yeah.
You would?
I mean, I've had women bosses.
I know you get paid, you got to do the job, right? But would you ever listen to a woman?
If she was in a position of authority, because we have authority, we have hierarchy.
If you're at work, you got to listen to your boss.
Yeah.
Have you noticed that every time the man listens to the woman, he suffers?
Yeah, I'm not sure. We're not arguing here.
Well, I know you're not.
Yeah, my husband's the head of our household, and
is he the head of you?
Yes.
Do you obey him?
Yeah.
You obey your husband?
Yeah.
Nice. And do you tell other women to obey their husband? And how do they react to that?
Women don't like that.
I know.
Right? Women don't like that. But also because women don't like it because they hear a lot of men say the word obey, and they think it means...
They automatically think it means bad things.
Or they think it means, like, I don't think you're intelligent enough to, like, speak with me or be a partner to me, right? And there are men who have treated women that way, where you're not a partner. I feel that happens a lot, especially in the Black community. I don't feel like we have...
especially in the Black community.
Yeah, we don't have a culture of partnership.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, then that does pervert the order, the hierarchy. And then you have a lot of women stepping into leadership positions who don't belong there. Yep. And then and what will happen is it's not that women can't do what men can do. It's not that. It's that if men don't do it, women will try to do it. If there's no man there, a woman's going to step into that position. Men need to be positioned on the wall. That is a male responsibility.
Now that they are intentionally pushing the man to the side and promoting the woman in this position, even though she's not qualified, they are putting women in position. Another thing I noticed, and I want to know what you think about this, and so much other thing I want to ask you about. I noticed that even Christian women, I look at some of these talk shows, and they have Christian women on these talk shows. Uh-huh. I'm thinking of one woman, she loves the Lord. And she teaches the Bible class, and the women go to her Bible class, but she's always promoting women over men. And whenever she has a guest on her show, a doctor, they need a doctor, or it's always women. And what do you think about a woman that would deliberately put another woman before the man while teaching a Bible class?
I don't understand the reference that you're talking about. This feels like you're asking
what
me
I'm
to
saying
make
is
a
that
personal judgment.
the Christian women act just like the non-Christian women when it comes to men.
I know. See,
They
the way
seem
you're,
to hate men as much as non-Christian.
well, what if we just really love women and like sometimes we just want, to do chick stuff and we don't want to have to.
But
talk
that's
to
not
men
the
and know what
case,
they
though.
mean. Well, what if we? This is a talk show, right? You're talking about.
Yeah.
So you're not talking about her hiring. You're talking about her having people on.
Right.
Okay. Why does she have to highlight men? Why can't we just why can't it be a chick thing?
But she always
Okay.
a woman. But if men did that, she would get mad.
Well,
And
so,
say, "Oh, you're discriminating."
well, so then go watch the show where the men only highlight men.
Do you if you had a choice of a boss, would you prefer a man boss or a woman boss?
A man boss.
And why?
Oh, women are too petty.
I rest my case. I rest my case.
Yeah.
What the?
But
Yeah.
what do you think? I think though that the way I'm hearing it from you though is that this is really all women's fault, and I think it's the opposite. I think all of your complaints are men's faults. If women are too aggressive, if women are in too many positions in society, if women are taking control of too much, that's because the men aren't doing it. So the men need to step up. We need to be raising better, stronger, more aggressive men who will take their rightful place.
That needs to happen, but it's the woman's fault that she does what she does in her weakness, and it's the man's fault that he's weak. Adults are responsible for their own lives and their own outcomes. But let me ask.
I would like to see more black men take more responsibility instead of asking us women to be the one. Like, we can examine ourselves. It's not working, obviously, because we've done all kinds of BS Oprah stuff over the years.
Yeah.
And honestly, I was having this conversation with my husband, actually, about we've been married for 26 years.
Nice.
So been married long enough, you go through it. And we were having a situation, and I said, you know what? I need you to lead us out of this.
Yeah.
I can't lead our family out of this situation. It has to be you. Don't ask me what to do. I don't know.
Nice.
You have to lead us. And I really feel like, as women, but particularly black women, we don't demand that enough of our men. I need you to lead, but then B, when we ask, and we don't step back and let the leading. You can't be like, I need you to leave, and then be like, well, you're not doing it right.
That's
You're
right.
leading. But also,
What a mess, huh?
it is a mess, but I do think that it is, and again, with this Carmelo Anthony case, it really brought it home to me, is that we need the men to be we've got lots of black men who are aggressive physically. We need our men to be aggressive spiritually and morally.
Let me ask you something, because of time, you said you're a Christian, right?
Yes.
And do you have perfect peace?
Perfect peace in Christ.
What?
Perfect peace in Christ.
So, do you have perfect peace?
Yes.
And for those who don't have it, what does that mean? And how do you know you have perfect peace?
That's good. Perfect peace comes from the knowledge that you have been rescued from death, that your Savior died on the cross to rip the veil between life and death. These are all Christianese terms, but I think the point stands is that perfect peace is resting in the knowledge that our God, the creator of the universe, the one who was the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow, and who has a plan for you, for me, and for every person from the moment of their conception, became a man to rescue us from the gates of hell. And in that perfect peace, we can say, no matter what is going on around us, no matter what is disintegrating around us, be it our nation, the family, the world, we already know that the story has already been told.
Amazing.
That the battle has already been won, and the cross has already become a victorious symbol.
And so, as a Christian, do you have an anger?
What kind of anger?
Anger.
Anger? Like,
Yeah. Do you have anger?
I have what I would call righteous anger.
And so you do have anger.
Yes.
But it's righteous anger?
Yeah, I think a lot of us I hope a lot of us think of Jesus as both the man who gave his life on the cross and was humiliated for us, and also the man who went into the temple and turned over tables and whipped people and shouted at people. You know, when you see...
And so what is righteous anger?
when you see that God's order, that God's created order is being flaunted or flouted, when you see that God, that his boundaries are being flouted, that his people are being taken advantage of.
But what is righteous anger?
Righteous anger is anger.
What do you mean?
I mean, I'm angry at the injustice.
And why?
Because it falls outside of the purview of God's boundaries, how God set up our world to work for our benefit. So for instance, I'm not angry that my neighbor had 3 babies with 3 babies daddy, with 3 guys. I'm sad. I'm angry that her 3 babies have to grow up with no father. That's righteous anger.
Do you have emotions with your anger?
Yeah, I think women are very emotional. Yeah, I definitely have a lot of emotions.
If they didn't have, if the women were to drop their anger, will the emotion drop and disappear as well?
No.
It won't?
No.
Why not?
Because women are emotional creatures.
But they're that way because their hearts are wicked. They're separated from God. So if they drop that anger...
Emotion is not wicked.
Yes, it is.
No, that's such an old school. My father-in-law is like this too. Emotion is not wicked, or you wouldn't have it. Emotion is useful. It can be the same way that your brain is not wicked. Your brain is your brain. Your emotions are your emotions. They can be used wickedly.
Can you have emotions without having anger?
Can you have? Yeah, you can have all kinds of emotions without having
anger.
Sure.
How is that possible? Since God is a dispassionate God. He's not an emotional God. And
I disagree.
I noticed that only people with anger.
I disagree.
Let me make a statement. Only people with anger are emotional.
No,
but
that's
those
untrue.
who drop their anger, they also drop the emotion, and they operate in perfect love. How can you be?
Is happy an emotion?
It's a fake happiness. It's evil.
So
but
do you
they
laugh? Do you
call
cry?
that good.
Do you feel sad? Do you laugh at movies, or do you?
I laugh at them, but I don't get an identity from them.
So you don't have any emotions?
Not the emotion.
You don't have any emotions?
No.
Oh boy.
Not in that way. But let me tell you this.
I think this
God
is
said,
dangerous talk.
Is anger good or evil?
Anger is an emotion. Like I just said, like, rage is bad.
Is anger good or evil?
Good.
Good. And what's good about it?
Well, I just pointed out our Lord, an example of our Lord turning over tables, and you have defiled my father, you have defiled my home.
For those men and women, but those ladies who don't know, when God said that anger is evil, and any person that has anger is evil, and that we should not trust an angry person because that's a murderer. If anger was good, why would he say that person is a murderer and do not trust an angry person?
Right. We need to get into then translations and like what is that Greek word there? Is it really anger? Is it something as a hatred? That's something different. So I don't know that I can have that discussion because I don't know what we're talking about in terms of, is it anger or is it hatred? Because if I read some translations, it's going to say hatred. That's going to be, that makes sense, right? But I would love to get back to your idea that you don't have any emotions.
Right.
Because I do think that this is a generational divide, I notice. And I notice this particularly from older Black men, especially. I see this. But it is the idea that you have to be devoid of emotions because the emotion is sinful. It's the sin is being highlighted by your emotion. And I think that leads a lot of men to distrust women because we're emotional beings. And then the way it comes out is, well, women are emotional, so they can't be trusted. Instead of saying God has equipped women to be able to feel things in ways men can't, and because we're your partners, we're able to offer you supplement, help.
So you believe
in ways.
You believe God made women emotional?
Yes, women are emotional.
But they didn't become emotional until the woman listened to the devil.
How do you know? How do you know? How do you know?
I'm about to tell you. When Eve was married to Adam, she was not an emotional
How do you know?
She operated on logic because she had the same mindset that her husband had.
How do
which
you
was
know?
the same-
You don't know any of the
Hold on.
conversations
Hold
they
on.
had. Maybe she busted him one day because he didn't put the toilet paper over right.
And which was the same mindset his father had, Adam. But when she believed the serpent and Satan became the woman's God, that's when she became an emotional person. Do you disagree with that?
Yeah, I do. I think that women, I think that these are all, this is your reading into it. There's nothing in the,
that wasn't the
there's
Bible.
nothing in the scripture that says before the serpent came, Eve was logical and not emotional.
She
and
was
then
wondering
after,
where her husband was.
But there's
just like
also
him.
nothing in scripture that tells us that emotions are somehow a perverted creation.
They are all ego.
Everything that we have in us is of the created order. Sin perverts it, right? So my emotion can be perverted. I can be turning over tables in my father's house, or I can be turning over tables because you didn't give me an extra serving of wine at dinner. Two
Let me ask
sides
this
of
because
the same emotional
Let me
coin.
ask this because of time. I noticed that, and you can help me understand this, even though I understand it. I noticed that women don't forgive or forget.
We don't forget. We don't
What-
forget. That's an advantage for you guys. And this is another
Meaning
thing.
what?
Yeah. I wish more men like you would instead reframe. So instead of seeing that as a problem, be like, it is a problem when my wife brings up that one time I did that one thing 30 years ago.
Yep.
But sometimes it's helpful when you need to be reminded. You know, when you need to be.
Should a man ever tell his wife, or any woman really, but his wife, should a man ever tell the woman his problems?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Why?
The partnership. Yeah. When you have a partner, this is your helpmeet. This is the person who.
But a woman is
supports
not your
you.
partner.
Yes, she is.
She's your wife.
That's a partner.
No. A partner is when you go in business with someone.
No,
Physical
that's
business.
one partner.
So does God call it husband and wife, or does he call it partner?
He calls them husband and wife.
So why do you call it partner?
Because if you understand the etymology of those words, you understand that they do mean partner. The husband and wife designation also encompasses the vows that we take before God, the vows we take to God.
But the word
but
partner
yeah.
just came about after the homosexual.
That's your bias because
No,
you
listen.
don't like how the left uses it. That's your bias.
The
You
word-
don't like how the left uses it.
The word partner came about when the homosexuals tried to get married.
No.
And they made up the word partner.
I know my friend is always Wendy's gonna die when she sees this Wendy because
Hey,
she's
Wendy.
always like I hate it when people use the word partner. 'Cause
Oh,
it's
God
so gay.
doesn't call it. That's right.
Right, but
so why do you, as a Christian
I
woman,
didn't
call
say
it partner?
you're acting like I refuse to use husband or wife. That's just one way
But
to
why
describe
even call it partner?
It's okay to use.
It's not your
okay.
wife is not your partner.
Yeah.
Your wife is your wife, not your partner.
Okay, fine.
So why do you call it partner? You're a Christian lady.
I'm still a Christian.
Tell
even though I
Wendy
use
she's
one
right about
English-
that.
Different English word. I'm still a Christian.
Right, but don't call it that word.
Well, if you don't want me to, I won't. But
Should-
if you want, but what's the question? So
Should
I'll
a
answer the
man
question.
ever tell a woman his problem?
Yes,
And why?
because that's how you are. That's how you have a relationship with somebody. That's called a relationship.
But it's
where you
not in-
share your problems and then you offer support.
But it's not in a woman's nature to handle the man's problem because the woman looks up to the man as he looks up to God. So if he going to her with his problem, she can't handle that. It's not in her nature.
This is
And
such a man way
and
to look
she's
at it.
going to judge him, and she will remember 50 years from the moment he tell her. Am I right?
No, you're not. You have a lot. There's a lot going on here. Okay. No, you're not right. And I think maybe some of your personal experiences are bleeding into how you feel.
The women always say that.
But-
Oh, you're a person that's been.
No,
It has
I'm
nothing
just
to do
being
with-
honest with you the way
No,
you're being honest with me. So if you
it has
just let me
nothing to do with
finish.
personal
Okay,
experience.
this is how I feel. This is how I'm reading it. Okay, this is just how I'm reading it.
All right.
All right, that's how I'm reading the situation. But the other thing too is this is the difference between how men and women view things and how they look at things. Because from your point of view, you're asking me, Kara, should a man ever go to a woman with this problem?
Right.
Because in your mind, if you're going to somebody with your problems, you're going to get them fixed. And if the woman can't
That's
fix
not
the
in my
problem,
mind. What I'm thinking,
she can't fix it.
That's
Then
not what I'm saying. It's not in
it's
her
useless.
nature to handle his problem. She looked to him.
She's not there to
tell
handle his
her how
problem.
to get over her problem. And so when a man
Right.
tells the woman his problem, she resents him because she sees it as a weakness, and it is a weakness. She can't even handle her own problem. How's she going to handle her husband's problem?
No, I think you misjudge women a lot, and I think, I think if you were to look into my marriage, that's not what you would see. You wouldn't see a man
Would you ever
saying,
want your husband telling you his problems?
Yeah, why wouldn't you? I think I would be scared if he didn't. I would feel like there's stuff going on in my marriage that I don't know about. There's stuff going on that our family needs to know about that I don't know about. I can't pray with him. I can't pray for him if I don't know
You're not
how he's
supposed
feeling.
to pray with him because you don't know what to pray for.
Yeah, you are
that
supposed
true?
to pray for your husband.
You don't know what to pray for.
You always know. First of all, the word tells us you don't have to know how to pray, and it gives us specific instructions.
Are you saying that you do know what to pray for?
You could pray the Lord's Prayer over your husband if you don't know how to pray.
Are you saying that you do know what to pray for?
I said if you don't know what to pray for your husband.
Do you know or don't you know?
Sure. I mean, if he's coming to me with, how do I know if he doesn't come to me? If he comes to me with a problem, says this is something that I'm experiencing, then I know, okay, let's pray about this, or let's invite the Lord into this conversation.
But he said, God said that we don't know what to pray for. We don't even know what we want. So how can you pray for something like that?
We don't have to know what we want, and we don't have to know what to pray for exactly.
Did
because
God
the
know
word
that?
Also, yes, the word also says, that God understands your prayers even if you don't. And it also gives us
He
a
does,
full
but that's
prayer
why he
to
tell you
repeat.
you don't know what to pray for.
It also gives us a full prayer to repeat if we don't know how to pray. This
Give
is
me
very
a-
important for Christians. If you don't know how to pray, the Lord's Prayer is actually a structure for you.
Let me do this
pray.
because of time. Do you create your own thoughts?
I don't know.
I'm sorry?
I don't know.
You don't know if you create your own thoughts?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a good question. I had a gentleman on my show the other day named Mark Gober. We talked about this. We talked about the brain, the soul, where your thoughts come from. He had a really interesting premise about the brain.
Amazing.
Yeah, it was really interesting. It was about what if we looked at it less of our own supercomputer and more of it as a receptor. It receives things. So it's not like we're creating depression, right? Everyone's depressed these days. It's not like you go to the doctor, they'll say it's your chemical imbalance, right? And they'll give you a medicine, make you better.
One other quick thing because of time. Did you forgive your mother for turning you away from your father?
Yes.
You went and told her?
Yes.
What happened? Real
She
fast.
didn't appreciate it.
She didn't? Nice.
My mother, 3 weeks ago, called our family and said that she can no longer be a part of our family because of Donald Trump. So
Did you say hit the road, Jack?
I didn't say it.
And don't you come back?
I didn't say
You
it.
should have put that on.
Sometimes you have to pick up your cross.
Yeah, absolutely. So one last thing, one quick thing. How do you feel about the Great White Hope?
Oh, that's Donald Trump?
Yes.
I had to put those together. I love Donald Trump.
Right.
I'm a big fan. I wasn't as excited about him the first time around. Somebody told me, I'll tell everybody this, I'll end with this, because it's the truth, you're gonna hear it a lot, and people are gonna say, oh, you're just Magari on the Trump train. I swear to you, read Art of the Deal. If you read the Art of the Deal, it will change everything the way you think about him. You'll understand everything he's doing.
Right on.
You'll get it. So I'm a big fan.
Right on.
I'm a big fan.
I got to put her on the hot seat.
Okay.
I need you to answer these questions as quickly as possible.
No, okay. I'll see.
The hot seat.
True or false, sending your kid to a public school is child abuse?
False.
Is it ever okay to call a woman fat?
That's not a true or false question. Is it?
No. Is it ever
It's
okay,
okay
to call
to
a
call a
woman?
woman-
Is it ever okay to
It's
call a woman fat?
Yeah. Oh, yes.
It is okay?
Yeah, sure. I do all that.
True or false? When she's crying, she's lying.
False.
Have you ever seen a ghost?
No. I've heard a ghost.
Should we keep Trump in office for another term after this?
Only if we can prove that the 2020 election wasn't real and overturn the results.
True or false? America is the best country on this side of heaven.
True.
Do we need more white babies?
Yeah. We need more babies.
Which is worse, abortion or slavery?
Abortion.
Is the earth flat or round?
Round.
What is a man?
an adult human male.
Should we make dual citizenship illegal?
Yes.
What is love?
What is love? Baby, don't hurt me. God.
Amazing. Did you have fun?
Yeah.
It was amazing. Thank you for taking on the hot seat.
Thank you.
Tell the folks how to get you, podcast, whatever you have out there.
Well, you can listen to me, and you should definitely sign up for my podcast. I'm going to go and I'm going to thoroughly debunk everything Jesse just said about women. Just Listen to Yourself. You can find that wherever you find your audio podcast. Find it on YouTube. Go look up my book, Why Conservatives Must Begin to Battle Fiercely in the Arena of Ideas, called Drawing Lines. And what else do I have going on? I don't know. Look me up on Twitter. That's the best thing. Real Kira Davis on Twitter.
Right on.
Not the fake ones, the real one.
And name the podcast again. You said it kind of fast.
Oh, I'm sorry. Just Listen to Yourself. It
Right
should
on.
be easy because I made the name of that podcast because I got tired of listening to people talk and they're not thinking about what they're saying. And I thought, did you even hear yourself?
Amazing.
So just listen to yourself.
You love white people?
Yeah, I love people.
How about you love white people?
So, yeah.
Amazing. Thank you
Yeah.
again. Thank you all for tuning in. I absolutely appreciate it. Don't forget to check out Punch's Coffee. Good. On jesseleepeterson.shop. You can also become a member now of the Fallen State right there on YouTube or locals.com. Check out the merch. Ring the bell. Do they still ring bells? Ring the bell, follow, subscribe, and all that good stuff, all right? If you'd like to see another guest on that you'd like to hear from, let us know. Producer at TheFallenState.tv. And thank you again for tuning in. That was amazing. Thank you.
Thank you. That was so much fun.
Amazing.
Thank you so much.